Here.
Mr. Clavijo?
Here.
Ms. Ehrentraut?
Here.
Dr. Morell?
Here.
Mr. Palouse?
Here.
Mr. Reicher? Mr. Shortway?
Here.
Mr. Turco? Mrs. Goff?
Here. Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and/or directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or the presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of their privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matters mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. Public be heard, agenda items only. Mr. Sprito, are we taking virtual comments? Seeing as no one has come to ask any questions related to the agenda, approval of minutes. December 14th, 2021. Regular meeting, public and private.
I said motion, I was way too eager. I'll say it again. Motion.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Morell, second by Mr. Clavijo. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Correspondence. Student Council Representative Report, Angela.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a fun and healthy holiday break. The Student Council's Holiday Spirit Week was a success. Everyone was able to dress in their pajamas, ugly sweaters, and holiday hats just before the break. The Student Council is currently discussing possible fundraising and fun events to hold for the upcoming months that abide to the current COVID guidelines. Winter sports are underway. Bowling has continued their success as they are now 8-3 on the season. They've been able to pull out some impressive shutouts against other schools. They have a few matches left before they hope to make it to states. Boys basketball started off their season strong, securing a 64-55 victory at Elmwood Park. They had a rough matchup against Rutherford, losing 68-53. They look to bounce back against their next opponent. Girls basketball also opened up their season with a 44-21 victory against Eastern Christian. The girls team is currently 4-2, and they are looking to improve their winning record. Just last week, Sabrina DiFilippo, junior guard, was selected as the North Jersey Girls Basketball Player of the Week. In the team's first 3 games, she averaged 19.3 points and 7 steals. Congratulations, Sabrina. Wrestling has started off their season strong, securing wins against Garfield, Parsippany Hills, Secaucus, and Elmwood Park. Key seniors have led the newcomers and underclassmen to many match wins. The winter track team has been doing very well. Distance runner Jason Harmer has also been selected as the North Jersey Boys Track and Field Athlete of the Week. He opened up his season with indoor school records in both 800 and 1600 meters, winning both. Congratulations, Jason. Keep up the good work to our winter sports athletes. The High School Library Media Center will highlight 4 important events this month. The first being National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. The second being Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January 17th. The third being World Religion Day, January 16th. And the fourth being National News Literacy Week, January 24th. For each theme, the library offers faculty instructional materials and resources and engages students with library book displays and bulletin boards, informational materials, daily morning announcements, posted flyers, social media postings, and relevant books on our pop-up library that moves around the school. The High School Gay Straight Alliance pitched in this month to help the library advertise the activities associated with the Human Trafficking Awareness Campaign by participating in our annual Locker Magnet Slam. Additionally, HHS students will show their support of the I'm Aware and I Care Human Trafficking Awareness Campaign by wearing black to school on Friday, January 14th. In our continued community collaboration, our librarian, Mrs. DiGeronimo, has been working this month with the Lewis Bay Second Library to be sure that books and other materials supporting the high school English curriculum are available at the public library. That's all I have to report for January.
Thank you, Angela. Mr. Sprito, the Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. So a few things to share with you this evening. I want to start by sharing that every January, including this January, is declared School Board Recognition Month. And it's a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. The Hawthorne Board of Education is one of 580 local school boards in New Jersey, which sets policies and oversees operations for public school districts and embraces the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students. New Jersey's local school boards help determine the educational goals for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services, act as advocates for public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. School boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs, and these boards provide accountability to the public. They communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to school administrators the public's expectations for the schools. New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the nation's best in key achievement indicators, including National Assessment of Educational Progress scores and preparation for college through advanced placement offerings and SAT assessments. This year, boards of education in New Jersey overcame unimaginable challenges in continuing to provide instruction to students during the pandemic. We want to thank our school board members for their role and the role that they play in the governance of all of our schools. On behalf of the administration, staff, and students of Hawthorne, we thank our Board of Education members for their commitment to our students and schools, and we value the time they dedicate and the important role they play in the advancement of education for the children of Hawthorne. So I just want to start by sharing that. Thank you to all of our board members for all that you do. I also want to welcome 2 of our new staff members who are here with us tonight. First, I want to just ask and please stand Mr. Brandon Groves, our new network administrator. Mr. Groves comes to us. He has a lot of experience, including experience at Montclair State University as an IT specialist, at Northern Region Educational Services Commission as a site technician. He's an adjunct professor at the County College of Morris and has worked in other locations as well. And we are excited to have Mr. Groves as our new network administrator here in Hawthorne. Today was his first official day, so welcome. We're happy to have you and look forward to your work here in Hawthorne. Thanks for being here. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Joseph Higgins. Mr. Higgins is our new supervisor of buildings and grounds, replacing Mr. Chamberlain. Mr. Higgins is currently serving as the director of facilities in Verona, and he's been doing that since 2017. Prior to that, he was a network administrator in Verona. So don't worry, Brandon. He's not looking for your job, I promise. But again, we're really excited to have Mr. Higgins join us. He'll be joining us hopefully sometime in March. He'll be here full time, so look forward to the transition and are excited to have you. Thank you for being here, Joe. Okay. A couple other things I just want to share with everyone. One is about kindergarten registration. That information was disseminated last week by our elementary principals. The information's been posted on our website, on all of our social media platforms, for all of our parents of incoming kindergarten students. As in the past, we're continuing with our automated process, where the process is completed online on our website. That information filters directly into our student management system, and once the information filters into that system, the information is reviewed by our administrative assistants, and then the administrative assistants communicate with the families to collect any additional paperwork that is necessary. As always, we will complete as much of this process remotely as possible. And again, all the information is available on our website and on our social media platforms. We also have information posted about our integrated preschool registration, which is open as well. So please visit our website if you're looking for information, or contact the schools and they'll be happy to guide you through that process. And the last two things I want to talk about just are a little bit about the guidelines from the Department of Health. So as many parents are aware, the guidelines, the school seclusion or isolation and quarantine guidelines have been updated numerous times. Just in the past month, they've changed twice. So what I want to share is that every time these guidelines change, what we do administratively is we review those guidelines with all of our administrators, and we determine if those guidelines are best for Hawthorne. Keep in mind that all the guidelines that we receive are recommendations. They are not mandates. They're not executive orders. They are recommendations. And what we do is we determine what we feel is best. Sometimes we adopt them immediately. Sometimes we take our time and think through the procedures that are included or how it will impact our schools, and then we make decisions again based on what we think is best for us. Obviously, I know some other towns have already adopted the most recent guidelines. We have not, and it's simply because we're trying to work out some logistics in our schools. Keep in mind that every school is unique. Every school has different challenges with things like lunches and other group settings. So we're going to continue to review the current guidelines, and I would expect that information will be disseminated within the next week if we decide to make those changes. And again, we'll communicate that. And as always, that information is always posted on our district website as well. So if you're looking for any information regarding guidelines, sports, schools, any letters that I've sent out, they are all available on our district website at the bottom of that page. All right? The additional thing I wanted to talk about was just about our interscholastic athletic programs. Currently, we're limiting crowds at those events, at those athletic events. We are limiting it to our home fans right now because we're able to stream those events for all who are interested in watching. Obviously, as things move forward, if the numbers improve, we will consider expanding who will be available or allowed to attend. It's not that we're trying to keep anyone from our games. It's simply that we're trying to keep everyone safe, including our athletes who are performing, or are competing, I should say. So again, if the guidelines or the expectations change for who is permitted into these sporting events, they will be communicated by our athletic director, Mr. Mazzaga. In closing, I just want to thank our administrators, our teachers, and probably most importantly, our nurses for all that they continue to do in dealing with this pandemic and this new wave of COVID. We know it's not easy. We know that it's been challenging for everyone, all of our staff, and of course for parents as well. But I appreciate the continued support of our families and community, and we'll continue to keep you informed of any changes as we move forward. Hopefully, hopefully we'll see a break in this soon and we can get back to more normal routine with everything that happens within our schools. So, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprito. Curriculum and instruction. In light of Mr. Rasher's absence, Dr. Morell has offered to step in. Okay.
Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions. CI 1 through CI 4 on page 3, CI 5 through CI 11 on page 4, CI 12 through CI 13 on page 5, and CI 37 on the addendum.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Carr, second by Ms. Aarontrout. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Personnel, Ms. Aarontrout.
The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools. P14 through P19 on page 5, P20 through 28 on page 6, and P38 through P40 on the addendum, page 11.
Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Morell, second by Mr. Palouse. Roll call, please.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Abstain on P25, yes to everything else.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Finance and Administration, Mr. Turco is also not present. Mr. Clavijo, would you be willing to step up?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Action items pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. F29 through F33 on page 7, H34 and H35 on page 8. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Palouse. Roll call, please.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Mr. Carr, Buildings and Grounds on the addendum, please.
Thank you. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Buildings and Grounds recommends the following resolutions. On the addendum, page 11, BG 41, BG 42, continued on to page 12, up until BG 43. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Clavijo. Roll call.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Claims, Dr. Morell, back to you.
In accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11B, C3, and C4, I have reviewed the January 22nd bill list, and it's recommended that the board approve the bill list for the month of January 2022, sorry. I move this forward for roll call vote. I probably said that wrong, but you got it.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Clavijo. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mrs. Goff?
Yes. Committee and liaison reports. Even though we did not meet this month, I'll still ask if anyone has anything that they'd like to share. Mr. Carr, Buildings and Grounds and Legislative.
Thank you, Madam President. Nothing on Buildings and Grounds, for like you said, we haven't met this month. As far as the legislative report is concerned, 3 bills were passed by the legislature and signed into law Monday, January 10th. First is school security drills, Bill A5727, S3726. This aims to ensure students' well-being during school security drills by dictating certain measures that must be taken taken in advance of, during, or after conducting such a drill. According to the bill's Senate sponsor, the legislation would ensure that lockdown drills take into consideration the impact these drills can have on the mental health of students, while continuing the safety preparations for students should an intruder appear at a school. This bill requires that a school district must ensure that a school security drill that occurs when students are present follow the following guidelines. Include clear messaging to students and staff at the conclusion of the drill that the event is a drill and that no current danger exists. Does not expose students to content or imaging that is not developmentally or age appropriate. Is paired with trauma-informed approaches to address any student inquiries or concerns that may arise as a result of the school security drill. Does not include the use of fake blood, real or prop firearms, or the simulations of gunshots, explosions, or other sounds or visuals that may induce panic or traumatic response from a student or employee. Does not require a student to role play as a victim, but it may include the first aid training in which students participate. Is accessible to students with disabilities and mental health conditions, and provides all necessary accommodations for these students. Second bill would be anti-bullying law revisions. Bill S-1790 and A-1662 makes various changes to the state's anti-bullying law, improves harassment, intimidation, and bullying reporting and investigations by placing a renewed emphasis on a supportive school climate and a culture as it means to combat HIV, creating the funded position of school climate state coordinator in the New Jersey Department of Education to serve as a one-stop shop for HIB information and resources for parents, students, and school staff. The office will also coordinate and collaborate with law enforcement and other agencies on anti-harassment, intimidation, and bullying efforts. Preserving the board's role in harassment, intimidation, and bullying oversight and parental appeals. Requiring funding for the Bullying Prevention Fund. This fund shall be used to offer grants to school districts to provide training on harassment, intimidation, and bullying prevention, and on the effective creation of positive school climates, and to help fund related personnel expenses. And the last bill was the mental health data reporting, A4838 S2811. This requires the school report card submitted by a school district to include the following information for each school within the district. 1, the number of mental health professionals, including school psychologists, school counselors, social workers, student assistance coordinators, and other mental health professionals, and the ratio of students to the total number of mental health professionals. And number 2, the number of school safety specialists. The law applies to the first full school year following enactment. This completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Mr. Clavijo, Council Liaison.
Thank you, Madam President. The council had their reorg meeting earlier in the month. Mayor Lane was sworn in. Their first meeting is scheduled for this Wednesday coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Clavijo. Ms. Erin Trout, Passaic County School Boards.
Thank you, President. I spoke with Kathleen Hellewa, our representative, to introduce myself as the new delegate from Hawthorne. I will attend, there's a meeting next Wednesday evening, and she said to give her regards to all of her friends here on the board here in Hawthorne. That concludes a very brief report. I'll have more next meeting, I'm sure.
Thank you, Ms. Erin Trout. On behalf of New Jersey School Boards, I also spoke with Kathy Hellewa. She shared the same sentiments to say hello to everybody. I did speak with her about coming either virtually or in person to meet with us about goal setting, specifically board goals, district goals later in the year, and then our strategic plan, which has recently just expired. I've spoken with Mr. Sprito about renewing that, so we would like to get all those things off the ground. We'll be talking about a timeline in the months coming. I also spoke with her about just general board professional development. The teacher in me loves professional development. So I spoke with her about various ways that we can professionally develop ourselves. I'll be sharing with you a webinar that she's sending me specifically related to our role in personnel, and then we can discuss that. I did ask her to come do a Robert's Rules and Ethics update for us veterans, a refresher, and for the newer members, a first time. We typically did that in person once a year with previous field reps, so I'd love to have her come back in and do that. She also referenced, and it is something that I have looked at, and I will send you all the link, that there is a very comprehensive, I don't want to say packet, booklet called Fundamentals of School Board Leadership. I did send you all snippets of that in one of my previous emails. It's dated 2021 if you happen to come across it, but I will send you that link. The last thing I would like to just talk about with you guys is she asked for us to give her several dates that she could come in for the refresher. When I was speaking with her, real time was down, so I couldn't pull up the meeting dates, but I just took a guess. It was the 1 minute real time was down yesterday. She tried to pull it up, I tried to pull it up. She did say she was free on April 12th. I believe it's the week before April vacation. I'm not sure if we have committees that day. She also gave us the next month, May 17th, she's free. That happens to be my daughter's birthday. If that's the only day we can do it, I will take one for the team.
Those 12th is our actual board meeting.
Oh, it is? Okay. So, because I knew it was the week before break, I didn't know if we were having committees that week.
No.
So, if everyone could just check their calendar for April 12th, that is a board meeting night. She would come, she usually comes and then hangs out afterwards. I can get you a length of time. I would say probably 45 minutes to an hour if you would rather do it before. I can reach out to her, but just communicate with me if that night's okay for you to stay a little longer or come a little earlier. She did have that free. It was one of the very few nights she had free. So I will get back to her and we'll shoot for the 12th. And that is all I have for NJSBF. Dr. Morell, policy?
Yes, thank you. The policy committee did not meet, but I'm looking forward to working along with my fellow committee members and working with Mrs. Burrito in setting forth policy for the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morell. Mr. Palouse, have CPAC and PTOs?
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things. Hawthorne Public Schools is having a parent workshop. It is this Thursday. The link can be found on the district website. It's a interactive suicide gatekeeper training. It will focus on 3 simple steps to save a life. Everyone should learn these innovative, practical, and proven suicide prevention techniques. All Hawthorne community members 18 years and older are eligible. Again, the link is on our district website. Moving over to CPAC. CPAC also has a few events coming up in January regarding DDD budgeting and programs that are eligible, that you may be eligible for. Again, go to their Facebook page and you can get more information. Roosevelt School, their fundraiser that they're doing right now with the Super Bowl coming, they just sold out 100 boxes for their first pool, and they're doing a second round of Super Bowl boxes. So if you want to get involved there, again, go to Roosevelt School's Facebook page. And sticking with the Super Bowl theme, Washington School is once again doing their pizza kit orders with Little Caesars. You can pick up 1 or 2 kits. The delivery goes right to your house from FedEx. Whether you get 1 or 2, the charge is the same as far as shipping. So stock up. And that fundraiser ends February 6th. Again, their link is there as well. For every kit they sell, the PTO gets $6. So obviously the more they can sell, the more they can earn. Jefferson School is hosting Jaguars Fight for Hunger. Each year, hundreds of thousands of people in New Jersey face hunger. They live everywhere in the country, town, across the state, counties and towns across the state. There are neighbors, classmates, co-workers. It's estimated that 800,000 people struggle with hunger. Again, more information is on their Facebook page as well, and that's Jefferson PTO. And just in case, in Lincoln Middle School, they are having a pickle lovers event. So there's going to be 12 varieties of pickles to choose from. So if you love pickles, please reach out and try to get a form. I think that needs to be submitted by January 28th. Again, that's going to be on the Lincoln Middle School Facebook page. If you ever have any questions about what I'm reporting, my email address is my last name, Palouse, BOE, @gmail.com. I will try to forward any links if you are interested in these fundraisers. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palouse. Mr. Raisher, CNI?
She did not meet this month, so nothing to report for CNI.
Thank you. Mr. Trucco is not here. I'm not sure if anybody else from the committee has anything. Mr. Pulido or?
Nothing.
Thank you, everybody. Public be heard. As a reminder, when submitting questions or comments, we're not doing that. Please be sure to when you step up to include your first and last name, address, and your question.
Is there a new item?
I'm sorry?
Agenda item?
No, we're on the second part now, so it's anything.
Go ahead.
Second.
Yeah.
Sorry. A hockey game tonight, I have to get there. Hi, my name is Ed Costello, 300 Florence Ave, Hawthorne, New Jersey. I have nothing written, so sorry about that. I am a coach of the Hawthorne roller hockey team. A lot of the kids that come to our group play ice in the Bandits or the Hitmen and other groups. And I was approached by one of the people at Lakeland High School to see if Hawthorne was interested in being a co-op program. Obviously, I can't make that call shot, that's why I'm here tonight. The town has lost probably 7 really good hockey players, mostly to the team up in Wayne. I won't mention any names. A couple in Ramsey and a couple in EC. The EC doesn't have their own team, but they do play up at the Vault. And I'm just trying to get the idea across that the co-op program would help keep some of the students in Hawthorne. I know for a fact that 2 of the kids that are going into Wayne, the final decision was made to go to PCTI is because they had a hockey program. That's how close the decision was. And if we could keep 1, 2, any amount of people in town, it's financially beneficial, and we have a nice wave of kids coming into the program for the high school next year, and I'm hoping that we can keep them all in town for Hawthorne and play in the co-op program. So, thank you for listening. If you have any questions,
Well, I'd like to comment on that. So just to give you a little background, so we were approached by Lakeland it was end of November, early December. I don't remember the exact date.
Is that John?
John Yost.
Yeah.
He reached out to us and
Right.
said, I'd like to take some of your students to play on our team. So, but just so you understand the way that process works, it's not as simple as they can just go play for Lakeland. So what has to happen is you have to apply to the NJSIAA to participate in a co-op. It has to be approved by the league, and then it has to be approved by the NJSIAA. Now, unfortunately, by the time he submitted it to us, we reached out to Colleen McGuire, who's the head of the NJSIAA. She told us that it was too late to even entertain that option.
Correct.
So that wasn't an option this year. It's not that we said no, it was just simply it was too late to even entertain it.
Absolutely agree.
The other thing that I can tell you is that there's a lot of factors that have to be considered with co-ops. It's not as simple as we're just going to play with Lakeland, because it has to be determined who the home site is going to be, the costs for each district, because obviously in most cases you split the cost, but if there's only a couple students, there's busing included, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Right.
So I just want you to know that the Lakeland request came very late. We reached out to NJSIA, and they said it was too late to even entertain it, that we had passed the deadline because the season had already started for Lakeland. So it wasn't an option for us to do that. And she also told us that Lakeland would have to determine the length of the co-op, that it can't just be an open-ended, is it 1 year, is it 2 years, is it a long-term co-op? So again, I just want to give you a little background.
Yeah.
I went through this a couple of times, and the last piece that I'll add is, although sometimes people say, well, we'd love to co-op with you, what they don't realize is that when you co-op, you get, I can't think of the word, but basically they have to get reclassified into another, possibly move up in league, because now you're pulling for more students.
Right.
And this happened with Fairlawn a few years ago. They asked us to co-op, and they realized that they'd have to be reclassified, and they said, we're no longer interested in co-oping, we have enough students. So again, I just want you to, it's something I can tell you, we've been through this conversation numerous times.
I'd love to go through this path with you because, you know, Paramus just went with Hackensack, they went with Lyndhurst. If you look down a lot of the teams, it seems to be the wave of the future because there's, like, very honestly, there's one kid who's a senior that would have loved to play but can't. But we still have 3 more kids that will be juniors or sophomores next year. And then the wave that comes up, it's, you know, it just seems to be the wave of the future. It's almost like shared resources in sports.
No, there's a lot of schools that do it for different sports,
Yeah.
not just hockey.
I know
understand.
football has it right up this,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
You know,
I
it
mean,
happens.
all I'm trying to do is open up the door we have a great program and we just want to keep building and building. And it may come back, I should say this out, it may come back to bite me because they may all of a sudden want to play somewhere else and then I'll be sitting down there going, well, I got 5 kids showing up tonight. But, you know, I think we're all for the kids and it's just the idea that last night I went to the Lakeland Passaic County Tech game. 2 of the stars for Passaic Tech that won are Hawthorne kids. And it just frustrates me, you know, because we have so much talent here and they just look for different opportunities, so.
Totally understand. I just want you to understand that it's, you know, like, because I
I'll
don't
keep
want people
bothering
to
you,
think
don't
that
worry.
we just said, no, we're not doing it. I mean, we
Yeah.
looked into it and it just wasn't something that we could do.
Well, I did get a phone call from John, as you knew, and I just met the coach from Lakeland. You know, the guy from Passaic County Tech's a local kid here too. I don't think he's happy that we're trying to pull people out of Tech and bring them to Lakeland, but, you know, it's a nice knit community and they're all good people. You know, we're not sending them to we're not big school up in Ramsey that you're just going to be thrown to a number. So I can't imagine Lakeland being out, you know, too many because they're short of people right now. So I appreciate your time. I'm sorry if I took 5 minutes more. And I got to go to my game, so I got to leave, okay?
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi. Eric Multi-Fulton, 236 Lafayette Avenue, Hawthorne. I might be in the wrong meeting, or this might have happened already, because I don't see it on the agenda. Were you guys discussing the SSR Funding? No, that was done already?
That was done a couple of months ago,
I
actually.
don't know why it popped up last night, and then I couldn't find it on the agenda.
If you're interested in finding that information, there is information about ESSER funding on you go to our district website.
That's what popped up, and I thought it doesn't have a date on it, so, and then I didn't see it on here,
We
so.
discussed it a few months ago, but we left it there so people could see it. That's why it's on that Board of Ed page.
So the only, I mean, maybe you can still answer this. The only question I had is what funding was used to help students who are, because I think maybe then you presented it when we did our testing report, maybe around that time, to help students because the test scores were, because of the gap, really,
Listen,
because of
We've
COVID.
used the funding, as you saw from that list, in a lot of different ways to support students. I think the best thing, to be honest with you, if you want to give me a call, I can go through
Okay.
that with you and kind of.
Yeah, again, I didn't realize this wasn't it.
Explain, because we have different programs, we've hired different staff. You know, some of the staff is working during the school day. We have certain programs that take place after school. We were in the summer program last year, you know, so
Yeah.
we're doing different things in
Okay.
multiple areas with that ESSER funding.
Right.
I'd be happy to go through it with you.
Do you know if the summer program's going to happen again this year by chance? If you don't have an answer, it's okay. I was just curious.
So I can tell you, we are talking about running a summer program again. One of the challenges that we're considering is, last year there was no rec program.
Right.
This year, I don't know what they're planning to do yet.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a couple of things that we're
using the
still,
building.
but I can tell you, it is absolutely something we're discussing, yes.
Awesome. And that's in addition to children with IEP who qualify for extended school year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk you through the other stuff.
Yeah,
if you want to talk
sorry.
about it another time.
I don't know if you know this, but you can't pull up the minutes on your phone.
You can.
Like,
When
you do know
it-
that, okay.
When you do it sideways,
I still can't get it. There's
yeah,
no link.
we have
Okay.
talked about that. The app doesn't seem to.
It's,
That-
no,
that-
that's
that
why I had the confusion.
The
Sorry.
phone functionality is not as good as obviously.
No
the
problem.
Computer functionality.
Seeing as there are no other questions, general comments and questions from the board related to the school district? Mr. Reicher?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Dr. Morrell?
I just really want to encourage, I know Mr. Palouse mentioned the parent workshop that's this week, that's on Thursday. I'm happy that I've been able to attend the other parent meetings, and they really have been so informational and helpful. And I just, again, want to commend the district administration, the guidance, for bringing these really worthwhile parent workshops. And I really hope that more parents, and actually this one, the one on Thursday, is open to all community members. It's not specifically just to Hawthorne parents. So if you're watching us on YouTube, hello, please attend that parent meeting. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Shortway?
All good.
Okay. Ms. Aarontrop?
No comments today, thanks.
Mr. Clevino?
I'd like to welcome Mr. Shortley. We're glad you're here, and we look forward to working with you this coming term.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mr. Carr?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome our newest staff members to the Hawthorne family, and I'd also like to just say thank you to Mr. Chamberlain for his years of dedicated work to the children and the buildings and grounds of Hawthorne.
Mr. Palouse?
I'm good. I think what Alex and Joe just said is, hits it on the head. So thank everybody and welcome aboard. Thank you.
Any new business? I won't call you individually by name if anybody has any new business.
Oh, I do. No.
Okay.
No, mine's is old business. Sorry.
We can jump to old business. Doesn't seem like anybody has any new business.
Okay. Are we sure?
We're sure.
All right. So in a previous board meeting, I suggested to the board to consider developing a board orientation process or manual. Since the original suggestion, I spoke with some members of other boards of education and some superintendents. As you would imagine, everyone has a different process, with the majority stating that the superintendent conducts a new member orientation. This, of course, does not replace the required mandated training provided by the New Jersey School Board Association. So I would like to revisit this suggestion for the board to consider, creating perhaps like an FAQ document or a manual-like document. I'm hoping that the board will consider developing a document that outlines or explains, or elaborates what's the culture of the Hawthorne board, explaining processes and practices that the board has found to be most effective for the successful functioning of our board. I know that, each board has their own way of doing things, that although a person may attend the School Board Association orientation and mandated training, it would still be helpful to know how Hawthorne does things. I recognize that things can be changed by the board, but perhaps we can agree that there are certain practices and processes that have just become a part of Hawthorne board practices and culture that we have shown to be effective and shown to be a successful, effective working manner. So I'm just suggesting to the board, again, to perhaps consider developing this document. I don't know if that becomes like an ad hoc committee. I don't know if that becomes, we just throw ideas out and I collect it. I'm not really sure. I'm just opening it up to the board to discuss. So yeah, that's what I'm bringing forward to the board.
Ms. Aarontrop?
I know this has come up in discussion before when Dr. Morrell has brought it up. I am definitely willing to help. I am a director of human resources and have been doing new hire orientations for years with employees, so I'd be glad to. I did take the workshop from the NJSBA for new board member orientation, so there is some, I know we've spoke about it as well, Abby. There's information we can start plugging in specific to Hawthorne to create this guide, so maybe before next meeting, if anyone would want to work on that, I'm glad to help to make that happen.
That sounds great. And Mr. Shortway can be our guinea pig as the newest member of the board. We can.
Oh, man.
I know that Mr. Sprito did speak with him and orient him as much as possible, but I do hear what you're saying, Dr. Morrell.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like, even though we attend this training, and the truth is, you don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what to ask. So every year, if you go through the year, there's just certain things that's always going to happen in September, October, November, or whatever have you. Standard things, I guess you can say. And just different things of just how do we go about, you know, if you're a chairperson, what does that look like? How do we think that will work out? So that's what I mean by like an FAQ. And like I said, when you're new, you don't know what to ask. And obviously, I'm still new, even though I'm entering my second year, and I'm still learning, and this is always a learning process. But if there's just certain things that I can know, I feel like the most help that we can provide to a new board member benefits all of us as a whole board, because then we're supporting someone to be as effective as they can to hit the ground running. So that's why I am making this suggestion.
Maybe I mean, that's something that you would consider entertaining. Maybe it could be a collaborative effort, maybe like a Google Doc, or, you know, rather than putting it on somebody, because it's going to fall on the shoulders of the veteran board members at that point. So rather than just laying it on top of everything else they're already doing, maybe a Google Doc where you could have like a collaborative type of environment where people can plug in their different ideas, and at some point you close it, you edit it, and yeah, so you can reopen
That
it.
is a great idea. Yeah. We could definitely look into starting that. Anybody else for old business?
I just want to add one thing in terms of new. It just came out for high school parents. You may have seen it tonight. The email from Mr. DeMeo about the traffic pattern. I just want to mention it here tonight because I just reminded myself. So one of the issues that we've been facing this year was there's a lot of traffic in front of the school, and I'll tell you where that comes from. In previous years, there was no restriction about what door you entered. Pre-COVID, people kind of went in whatever door they wanted to, right? And there were certain doors that were open. Not every single door is open. There were certain doors that were open, but people could choose to enter any door they wanted. That was open, okay? With COVID, obviously, they began assigning doors. And basically the way it's set up is that the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors enter the front, and the seniors enter the back. So that creates a lot of traffic in the front. And that was kind of an unintended consequence of the new structure, right? And it was done intentionally to kind of separate students so they weren't all coming into one spot. So we've been, obviously there have been some concerns about it. We've been talking to the Hawthorne Police Department about it, and next Monday we're going to be try to do a one-way traffic pattern in front of the school throughout the day. From the morning to the afternoon, it'll be one way from Vreeland to Warburton so that cars aren't trying to go across each other. We've done this at the middle school. It seemed to alleviate the issue. I'm hoping it's going to work here. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to start next Monday. The police are going to put out a barricade on the corner of Warburton and Parmalee so people can't enter Parmalee going toward Vreeland. And we'll see how it goes. And if we have to tweak it, we'll tweak it. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I know it's been a point of discussion at some of the high school PTO meetings and some other events. So we are going to try to rectify it. Listen, hopefully COVID, hope we can get past COVID soon and we can go back to our old procedures. But for now, we're going to give this a shot, see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. Sorry, I meant to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
And I just want to kind of piggyback on that. I'm sure we'll get some complaints from a few neighbors locally because it's going to be difficult to get in and out of their properties. One of the things I think is the big cause of it is the fact that people cannot read signs or they don't care, because you cannot have parking on one side of the street and then park on the side that says do not park. And we constantly have police officers coming and chasing people away, but if you park on both sides, then there's only room for one car down the middle. So people that are parking on the right side of the street are really the ones that cause this problem, because if you abide by the law and just drive down the street, and then there will not be the traffic that we have. So I think it's a great idea that we try to do something about it, because it is a disaster on some days, especially when the weather's bad, when it's raining. and everybody's picking up their kids, or we have snow on the ground and that even tightens up the road a little bit more. But ultimately, I just kind of wanted to make the point that the right side of the street has signs that say, do not park, and people park anyway.
May I just ask a clarifying question about that?
Sure.
So, I read the letter, and I'm just a little bit confused. Is because and I don't know, maybe things have changed. Previously, the middle school only blocked it off during the morning pickup and the afternoon drop-off. The letter I interpreted as the entire day.
That's correct, you're right, correct.
Okay,
So that, listen, we're gonna try it.
right.
And if we have to tweak it and just do it morning and afternoon, they felt that it's better to just do it throughout the day because you have people coming to drop kids off or coming for a meeting, or they want to see how it works doing it all day. And again, if we feel we don't need to do it all day, we can always scale it back and do it morning, afternoon. But we're going to try it this way first, and then we'll see. But you read it correctly.
Oh, okay, all right.
Mrs. Frida, I was going to ask if that's successful. I know when they repaved behind the high school, I got a lot of emails and calls from parents saying, could they make that one way in light of a lot of students get in accidents back there? I know they fixed the parking spots to be better than they were, but I know try one thing at a time, but I wonder even if the back two somehow was like one way to that people.
Well, see, to your point, prior to us paving the street, the parking spots were never set up correctly.
Correct.
And kids were backing up across traffic. But now, because of the way the spots are, that's not happening. So they're backing out the proper way, if you want to say it that way, right? They're not backing out across traffic to then drive away. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that will alleviate, any challenges. I understand, they're new drivers, right?
Yeah.
And we're asking them to back out across traffic at the end of the day. So I'm hoping that this will help that. And the fact that we turn the spots the other way.
I'm just thinking, if one thing worked, however you want to make, not you, but like people want to make the back of the school one way, a lot of schools just know during the school day, this becomes the school traffic pattern, and you go that one way, and even, the safety of kids walking through there and the whole thing. I know one thing at a time.
We're going to try the front, we'll see how it goes. If you have to tweak that, I'm hoping that will help in the front. I think it will, because if everyone's going in the same direction, you're going to have kids crossing on both sides,
Yeah.
we need to do something out there. So we're going to try it, we'll see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. That's the plan.
From what I've seen so far, everybody's appreciative of, the overall response is appreciative of the responsiveness to the issue, so.
Thank you, Mr. Sprino. Any other old business? I would like to take a moment to just welcome Mr. Groves and Mr. Higgins. We hope that you will quickly find Hawthorne your home, and it is a very welcoming community. We're very happy to have you. Also to Mr. Shortway, we're very happy to have you here too. I can't see you, but we're happy to have you here. I'd like to thank the community, the faculty, the staff, the administration, Mr. Sprito and your staff, just for the resilience that has come, during the pandemic, but specifically after the winter break was particularly challenging with staffing, and your proactivity in knowing that it was going to be a problem and going remote with advance notice and giving families time to plan and only staying closed as long as we absolutely needed is greatly appreciated. I know that other districts have not been so lucky. It's been tumultuous and continues to be tumultuous, but I'm eternally grateful to the faculty, staff, and you, and the community and the parents. It's not easy. It continues to get more challenging when we think it should be getting easier, and it doesn't seem to be getting easier, but your leadership is so welcome, and we're very thankful for that. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members, for your continued support, and to sort of piggyback off of what Dr. Morell is saying, I think this is an exceptionally cohesive and amicable board. I'm grateful every day. I've been a member of boards that were not this amicable and cohesive. But that being said, just doing things because that's the way we've always done them has never sat well with me. So if any of you have any suggestions, comments, concerns, and that includes you, Mr. Sprito, of doing things differently or changing something, Dr. Morrell pointed out that we have a bylaw That includes committees that we no longer have. So just looking at things a little differently, I'm welcome to any suggestions and comments and changes and tweaks and streamlining anything, doing things differently. I really appreciate that. So reach out anytime. I'm available all day and all night, as you guys know. I tried something different with the survey, the Google Forms. I like things done digitally, but anything that you guys think we can do differently, better, really would be great. And I think that Dr. Morell's point of just sort of contemplating how we do things might be beneficial, because I was explaining to her what a chairperson does now that she is a chairperson, and it's really something that you don't know until you are that person. So, and that's heavily influenced by the current makeup of the board. There's nothing set in stone as to what that looks like. So I think that that's a discussion that would be beneficial to us all. And I love the idea of the Google Doc. So maybe we can start that, and that may lead to some discussions each month as things come up. We can share out during the discussion portion what that looks like. So that's exciting to me. Another a fellow data nerd. I really enjoyed that. But
Abby,
yes.
possibly change at the end, is any other business to discuss? Because still people are like, new business, old business, what does this mean?
Yeah, I think that's the general comments that starts it, but we can certainly rearrange, we have rearranged that, yeah.
Yeah, just make
I
it
did
one.
share with Kathy that we don't fully still understand what new business and old business is. So she will refresh us when she comes.
Any other business or comments?
Yeah, we could rearrange that, we could put that part last.
I think you're saying just do one
section?
Yeah, just do, this is the final part of the meeting. Whoever would like to say anything, anybody want to talk about any other business or comments?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mr. Racer, now is your
Ask Kathy
time.
if it's required that you do
That we
business, old business, or can you do it as one, any comments or
make more
questions or
sense.
report?
And then
That
people would know too, when you're called on,
Yeah.
like this is the time to any other comments,
Yeah.
things that you like to elaborate on that are going fantastic, or other questions you might have, like this would be the one and only time. And I know for several years that what's new business, old business,
Yes.
this comment, that comment. Like, I think it could just be one of, this is your time at the end of the meeting, if you thought of anything or had anything prepared of what you're going
I
to
do
say.
think there is a specific part of Robert's rules that addresses that, so
Okay.
she would be the one to be able to give us that. But I agree with you.
Okay.
I mean, I just said all my stuff at the end.
I think it just kind of keeps it, cohesive, where you're all on the same page, rather than jumping around. We thank people
Right.
for starting with the district, and then we're jumping back to old business, and then over to new business. So we can certainly discuss it further, but I kind of think that's why it's laid out like that. I think we just have to realize when it's new, when it's
I will
old,
get
and
there.
when it's general.
Since we probably can't wait till April for her, I will get some clarity on that specific piece for us for next month. Okay. Private session. Be it resolved, the Hawthorne Board of Education convenes an executive session to discuss exempt matters pertaining to HIV. Be it further resolved that it is anticipated the executive session will be for 45 minutes in duration, and the public action may or may not be taken. Be it further resolved that the minutes of the executive session will be made available upon determination by the board that the disclosure of the minutes will not detrimentally affect any right or interest of the board, and the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Motion to go into private session.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blue, second by Mr. Clavijo. Roll call, please.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Aarontrout?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.